This video is brought to you by Alpine Esports in Gaylord, Michigan. Whether you like Magic the Gathering or playing video games with friends, Alpine Esports is the perfect place for you. Links for YouTube, Discord, and their website are in the description below.
Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer Showdown. So, it's a little bit of a different episode today. Obviously, you can see with the thumbnail, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm here today with Nate. How's it going, Nate?
It's great. I'm excited to play.
Me too. I haven't played Paper Magic in a couple days at least, so I'm definitely ready to start playing that. So, we're playing Pioneer today, but it's a little bit different. So we are playing a few cards that are not presently in the format. So I am going to be playing Green-White Wilt-Leaf Aggro. Wilt-Leaf Liege is a very powerful card from Modern's past. Unfortunately, it's not in Pioneer right now, and I think that it's a card that could potentially kind of help an aggro deck that doesn't see any play in the format potentially be a little bit better. And then, Nate, what are you playing today?
I'm going to be playing Golgari Midrange. I am going to play some Goyfs, though. I think that it's pretty good in this format. I don't think it's amazingly broken, especially considering all the broken stuff that can happen in Pioneer. But I think it'll be solid, and with all the graveyard decks and stuff running around, I think that it could find a legitimate place in Pioneer and be playable and not be 5 cents.
I'm also on the same boat for that. I don't think Tarmogoyf is too powerful either, personally, but, you know, we're going to find that out today. So, all right, we're going to make a quick cut here. We're going to shuffle up, decide mulligans, and get ready for game one. All right, so we are ready for game one here. We're both on 7. My hand's looking pretty solid. I've got Elvish Mystic as my 1-drop. I've got Malira as a 2-drop. I've got King Darien as a 3, and I have Wilt-Leaf Liege as a 4 with 3 lands. So overall, curve's looking good. How's your hand looking, Nate?
My hand looks pretty great, actually. I have 2 lands. My lands are Boseiju and Blooming Marsh. And then I have a Thoughtseize on 1. I can choose between a Bankbuster and a Goyf on turn 2. Liliana on 3 if I get the land. And then a Shieldred to round out the curve. I mean, if I draw 2 lands in a row and can just curve out, this hand seems great against any deck that I play against. It doesn't seem like a... it's pretty hard to beat a Shieldred on time, so...
Right. So, okay, I accidentally won the die roll on a 4, and so I'm going to be starting us off here. I'm just going to play Razorbird's Thicket and Elvish Mystic. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to your Elvish Mystic yet, which kind of sucks, but we're going to start with a Marsh, and I think we still want a Thoughtseize since we don't have an answer to it.
Okay, all right. That's what I got cooking here.
What is this card?
Pretty good. Yeah, Malira, definitely, it's a new addition for the deck. Well, I mean, obviously the deck doesn't exist in Pioneer, but a very new card that I don't think a lot of people really know about. I've always been a big fan of that card.
So we have access to...
I would not pick the Wilt-Leaf Liege, though, to discard.
Yes, I will not be picking Wilt-Leaf Liege. I can promise that. However, there are some pretty good hits here. He can cast Malira or King Darien. What is King Darien? Sacrifice it. Oh, these do the same thing, kind of.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
I think, though, it's tough, but I think Malira is more... I think King Darien is actually more dangerous because you can cast them both on.
Yeah, I can play both.
2.
I can play it on 2. So
like Malira is a little annoying, but I can kill the Malira and your other stuff doesn't get hexproof, which is annoying. That card does that.
Right. All right. All set then.
That is my turn. Yeah.
All right. I'll go ahead and play open-handed for you here since we know what's going on. That one you don't know about that. Okay. I'm gonna play the Branch Off Pathway. So I drew a pretty interesting card here, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and play the Malira. And then I'm going to attack for 1.
I will take 1.
All right, so 17. Go ahead. Man, you know, it'd be funny. We actually have a local player that plays a lot of... that plays Golgari Toxic right now. It'd be really funny if I played against him and I played the Malira, because it has the poison counter text on it.
So I didn't draw a land, so I'm going to play the Boseiju. I did draw a Fatal Push.
Skill issue.
And... The Wilt-Leaf Liege is threatening to come down next turn. So I'm... It's close. I gotta read this card one more time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have not played against Melira very often, so it's...
This is actually technically my first time I've actually really played the card.
So I think I do want to make him use the Melira now, if he wants to save the elf. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Fatal Push the elf.
I think I just let it die. I think I want to protect the Wilt-Leaf Liege when that eventually gets in play.
Go ahead.
Okay, draw. Drew a decent card again. Not one that we really needed right now. I'm going to go ahead and play this on white. Just because we do only need 2 green for the deck to be able to function, and obviously we have it now. So, we'll go ahead and we'll just attack right now. We'll attack for 3.
I am at 14.
Okay, and then I'm going to tap 3, and we're going to play Loxodon Smiter. A big heckin' elephant. Not super relevant text right now, obviously, but right now it's just a 4/4, which is still pretty solid. So
Cards are pretty good against my Liliana.
go ahead. Yeah, accidentally. It lines up pretty well.
Looks pretty silly in my hand right now. Ooh, I drew another Goyf, which is rough, because my hand looks...
That's still a
heavy.
3/4 Goyf.
It is a 3/4
That's a 3.
Goyf.
It's a 3/4 Goyf. That's not bad.
I think I do want to play the Goyf, since I don't have anything else to do. Actually, I think I want to play the Bank Buster. I know I'm going to take a lot of damage next turn, but I need that land.
Busting
so
that
there's
bank.
that. So it's going to enter with 3 counters, and then I'm going to pass.
Okay, so hopefully we draw the land here so we can play the Wilt-Leaf Liege. We didn't draw it, but I do have a pretty good card, but I don't think I want to play that one just yet. So, okay, we're going to move to combat. We're going to attack for 7.
I am going to go to 7, and now I need to play a blocker next turn for sure.
And second main phase, I'm going to play a Voice of Resurgence.
That's a pretty good one.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. Hopefully we knock the top of the deck and draw a land. We did not, so this might be the end of our game here. So what we're going to do is we're going to... Now we kind of are forced to play the Goyf to block, to not die.
We're going to put 3 counters on just to show that it's a 3/4.
Yep. And then I guess we'll pass.
All right, definitely hoping for that 4th land here, which we didn't draw it yet again. We did draw a pretty interesting card, though. So, it's 7. This is a really interesting line here, because I drew that, I think... Okay. Alright, I'm just going to force you to have to do this here. I'm going to go ahead and play a Skyclave Apparition.
I will respond by crewing.
Yes, and then
actually
it's non-land, non-token permanent. I do think I'm going to take the Tarmogoyf, though. So, and then you crew that in response then?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So, all right.
You have to target first, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, I would have done it in response to the target.
Right. Okay, so, I mean, I could attack, and then you could block one of my homeboys here, and then you would go to, I could take you to 1. I could take you to 1 life. I guess I don't really hate that. Or we could trade with the Smiter. I wonder if I just put you to 1. That'd probably be a better idea, because then it technically turns off a shock land. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead, we'll attack with all of our homeboys here.
So I am actually going to block the Smiter.
Okay, and at this point I can decide if I want the Smiter to stay. I could sacrifice the Melira to keep the locks. Oh, yeah, because I could do that, because this is exile it. Yeah, so I could do it on combat. I think I'm going to actually just let these trade. So I'll deal 5 to you.
Yep.
And then you're going to go to 2.
Yep.
And I'm going to pass.
So we're really still hoping for a land, but we didn't find it. So
how many lands? 24?
23.
23, yeah.
Lots of 2-drops, though. And usually we're drawing a ton of cards, but you're pretty fast. So the reason I blocked there is because I have another Goyf. But I'm dead. So I will pass.
Draw. We drew yet another not land.
It's actually 1 bigger.
Oh, that's true. All right. Turn the homeboy sideways.
And then I die.
Yep. Okay. Alrighty, yeah, that was definitely a non-game there, but you know, yeah, the
There it was.
I see with the Wilt-Leaf Liege, the turn before I definitely would have played it just to try and take you out, but it was interesting because with Lily you would have had to down tick, and I guess I could have sacked the voice to get a elemental token, but no, I feel like definitely when you started, like if you would have hit your lands on curve, it definitely would have been a different story for sure. But anyways, all right, so we're going to shuffle up for game 2 here. We're doing 2 pre-boarded games and then 2 post-board games, so we will see you in just a minute for game 2. All right, we are ready for game 2. Nate is on the play. We are both keeping 7. My hand's looking pretty good. I've got a couple of 2-drops and a couple of 3s. I don't have the elf, but honestly, that's pretty okay. Nate, how's your hand looking?
My hand's looking great. I have a Blooming Marsh and a Slither Boar, so I have 2 colors of mana. On turn 2, I have my colors. I have a Goyf, I have a Bankbuster, a Decay, a Thoughtseize, and a Fatal Push. So my hand is exactly what you'd expect from Black Green Midrange.
All right, perfect. All right, well, you go ahead and lead us off.
We'll start with a Blooming Marsh, and I think we'll Thoughtseize actually.
Thoughtseize.
And we'll see what we got going on.
We got
here.
a King Darien, a Fleecemane, a Voice, and a Loxodon Smiter. I mean, obviously, you're not going to discard the Loxodon Smiter, so I'll set that back here. And I got 2 Temple Gardens and a Lair.
So I can answer the Fleecemane pretty easily, and I can answer the King Darien pretty easily. However, I cannot answer Voice of Resurgence very easily because it cares about stuff. So we're gonna take that.
That definitely seems like the card to pick for sure. All right, all set then.
Yes.
All right, so definitely an elf would be fantastic, which we did not draw, but that's fine. Temple Garden tap. Go ahead.
So we're gonna draw, and we drew a Shieldred, which doesn't affect our hand at all right now. We're gonna play a Slither Boar. We're gonna play it on green, I think, for now. Actually, we'll play it on black because we want to be able to make sure we have our black mana for our Shieldred when that time comes for it.
Shieldred.
And I think we actually want to get down this Goyf now.
Goyf! The 2/3? Yep, 2/3.
And then that's my turn.
Alright. Draw! Alright. We're going to play the Lair, and we are going to play Fleecemane Lion. Go ahead. Which is, for right now, bigger than the Tarmogoyf, but probably not for long.
We're going to untap and we're going to draw. And we're going to be upset that we still can't draw lands.
Oh my goodness.
But we are going to actually have an answer to this, and we're going to Fatal Push. And that'll grow my Goyf, because I have an instant in the graveyard, and then we'll attack for 3.
I'm going to go 17. I got nothing.
Pass.
Alright. Drew another turd. I could play the Loxodon Smiter to be bigger than the Tarmogoyf, which I think that's what we're going to do here. I'm not going to play the Temple Garden, though. I am going to play the Boulder Loft we drew, and then I'm going to play Loxodon Smiter. Go ahead.
So I drew a Mutavault. Thank goodness. I drew land, which is amazing. Which allows me to not do much more than I was going to do this turn anyway. But I am going to... We know about the King Darien in his hand, which makes me want to save the Abrupt Decay. But also the King Darien... The Loxodon Smiter is a 4/4 right now, so it's
quite the elephant.
Yeah,
it's a big elephant in the room.
It is a big dude. But I do want to get down my Bankbuster, so I think I'm actually going to do that because the Bankbuster will allow me to potentially get a land next turn, which is huge. And then I'll pass.
All right, hoping for some action here, which we drew yet another land, which isn't great. Okay. So, it's definitely a very interesting line. I think what I'm going to do is... So, I'm going to go ahead and play our Boulder Loft Pathway here. And we're going to go ahead and move to combat. And I'm going to go ahead and attack for 4.
So this is an interesting spot because we can grow our Goyf by crewing the Bank Buster, which it's close. Because I do have another Goyf in hand, which makes it a lot closer than I'd like it to be. But I think I also want to get to 4 mana for this Shieldred more than I want to block this Loxodon Smiter, especially since I'm at 18, because we're all about incremental advantage. So we're going to take that damage.
Okay. All right, and I have no effects. So, second main phase here, I'm going to go ahead and play our Fleecemane Lion. And I'm going to pass.
Rude.
Dude, it's just a cat.
I mean, I guess my Goyf is a little bigger. But I do have to kill that this turn. Or else it gets bigger.
It gets kind of big.
Because we know he has another land in his hand. Now, do I want to risk it for the biscuit and draw with the Bank Buster first and hope that I hit the land?
What's the worst that can happen?
Actually, first we're going to go to combat. And we're going to attack with our Goyf and see if he wants to block.
I'm gonna block.
Damage?
Yeah, damage dealt.
Okay.
Still before moving to second main phase.
Sure.
A Ganjo.
Hot. All right.
Which, the reason I had to... So I had to do it, though, when in there, because technically it grows to a 4/5 by discarding the land.
Yes.
So I had to make sure that the damage was dealt, which is a pretty funny line, but... Yeah, alright.
I'm actually okay with that, because I do have another Goyf in my hand. Like, this is a pretty good spot. And this is actually the best spot to be drawing with your Bank Buster, because you want to hit, like I said, this whole time...
Draw the land!
It's all about land, and I didn't draw it. Which is awkward, because I only have 2 drops in my hand. And 3 drops. So, that's where we'll pass.
Alright.
But we're at a high enough life total right now where we're not under immediate duress of dying.
Duress?
Duress?
Okay, alright. I'm gonna go ahead and... play King Darien.
Yep. That card has to die.
And then I'm gonna move to combat, and I'm gonna attack for 5.
Oh, it's a 5/5 now. Okay.
Stonks, and then second main phase, play the Land of War Elves. Go ahead.
It's a little late to the party, but better late than never, I guess.
Got plenty of mana over here going.
My turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to untap, and we're going to try and draw that land.
Don't do it!
I didn't do it.
Skill issue.
So what we're going to do instead is we're going to... look at our hand and be sad.
You can attack with your Mutavault.
Could. That's not what I want to do, though. I need to kill that King Darien, I think. But I also want to be able to crew my Bank Buster. Or I guess I could just make a huge Goyf that can block pretty well. I think that's what we're going to do. You're empty-handed. And I have a Bank Buster, so I can draw next turn. And this Goyf is a
4/5?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and then I got land.
4.
So, yep, 4/5. If it doesn't grow, dies.
And then I'll pass.
Alright, definitely hoping for a Wilt-Leaf Liege here. That would be absolutely fantastic. A Skyclave would also be pretty good. But we drew the opposite. We drew yet another land. Okay. Interesting. So I think really our only thing we can really do here is attack with the Smiter. So we'll move to combat. We're going to attack for 5.
So this is an interesting spot because we don't want to take the 5, but we also don't want to lose our Goyf for nothing. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to block with the Bank Buster.
Okay. I have no effects.
and then the Bank Buster will die, which will grow our Goyf.
Stonks. Just casually 5/6 Tarmogoyf. Wave. Okay, and I've got nothing, so I'm gonna pass.
It sucks that we can't draw with it, but we can't keep taking 5 either, so there's that. That was a good draw. I just drew Glissa the Sunslayer, which is extremely good at blocking.
That
with First Strike and Death Touch. And I think that's what we're going to play, because it also draws cards when it attacks, and it does all the things. And we are still desperate for a land. I do have lots of removal, so if this gets removed, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, we're going to start with the Glissa and see what happens this turn. And then I'm done.
Alright, end step. I'm gonna tap 5, and I'm gonna activate King Darian and make a 1/1 dude.
He only does tokens, right?
Yeah, and he gets a +1/+1 counter. Yep. Sweet. Alright, going to my turn. We're gonna hopefully draw something good. And we drew yet another land.
We're having opposite issues.
Yeah, look at that. I think my only non-land I've drawn this game is the Elf and the Fleeceman land. Alright, well, drew another bad card, and I don't have any good attacks here, because even if I, full swing, it just does nothing for me here, so...
My dudes are pretty big and pretty First Strike Death Touchy.
No, so I'm gonna pass.
So we're gonna draw, and we're really, really hoping for that land at this point, because we're not super far behind, but we're behind a good bit. And, of course, we drew it.
But it's
just
a beautiful...
it's
a tap land.
It's a little late to the party. A Mutavault would have been better, actually, because we could have cast our Shieldred, which would feel a lot better than having a tap land right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay on defense, I think. And we're going to start by... decaying the king.
The king. Okay. I'll respond. I'm just gonna tap, make another homeboy. I mean, this will go to counter, but then it dies.
Yeah, we had to get rid of the thing that was pumping everything.
The king is dead.
It was a little scarier than I wanted it to be, but we're still not in great shape. So we're gonna leave this Glissa back on defense for the time being. There's nothing I can destroy with it. I don't really want to lose life, so go ahead.
Alright, untap. We're looking for a good draw here. And we drew yet another land. So I'm just going to play our Branch Loft Pathway here, and yeah, we still don't have any good attacks, so I'm going to pass.
We're going to untap, and we are going to draw. We drew another Shieldred, which is good, because then if he removes the first Shieldred, we're in good shape. And I think we're actually going to just play the Shieldred out here, because we can attack with the Glissa, and if he wants to send all of his dudes at me to block my Glissa, that's fine. So we're going to attack with our Glissa here.
You can lose a life, draw card, you lose a life, 3 counters to permanent. Yeah, okay, let's return it. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's taken. Man, do I really care about the Glissa right now? I don't know if I do. I think, honestly, at this point, regardless, I think I need to draw some action, otherwise we're dead. I'm just going to go ahead and take it. 14.
So when Glissa deals combat damage, I'm going to draw a card, and I'm going to actually gain a life, because Shieldred will trigger. So I'd normally lose a life from the Glissa, but because I gain 2 life from the Shieldred, I actually gain a life, which is why we attacked, because it's just good. And then we'll pass.
Alright, we really need some action here. And yet, we drew another land. And we also lose 2 life because we drew a card.
Yes.
So I can make a really big lair, which honestly is not the worst thing, I guess. Because how big could we make it? So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could make it big enough to get through the Tarmogoyf, and then you'd have to block it. Or, I mean, you wouldn't have to block it, but... I think that's probably our best option here. So I think because we could make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Boy, really holding down the board right now.
Could make it a 6/6. Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna activate activate our lair for 6 here,
Yep.
and then move to combat and attack for 6.
So, with the fact that we know that there is another Shieldred in our hand, and that can happen every turn for as long as he draws lands,
Which we're good at.
I think we just want to kill it, and we want to save our Goyf because it's really shoring up the rest of the attack. So we're gonna block.
Okay. Alright, so that'll die. And then second main, I'll play this other lair. No pass.
Well, that makes my play a little worse. But I still think it was correct in
I mean,
that.
I rather would have drawn some better action than another lair, but I mean, I guess if I was going to draw a land, I mean, like, that's the one to draw, but...
So this is a little awkward, but we are actually going to pay 2 life to have that enter untapped.
So,
And then we are going to cast another Shieldred. Because we do have a Fatal Push in our hand, which, you know what answers layer pretty well? Fatal Push. And then I think we still want to attack with our Glissa, because we still want to gain that life.
I just don't... I think at this point... We still have some outs, but it's not looking too good for us. Yeah, this is tricky. I think at this point, I just have to throw... I think I have to block it. I think I just gotta throw a blocker in front of the Glissa.
So it still kills the thing, which is fine too. It's a kill spell sometimes. On that note, I am done with my turn.
Alright, I'm going to untap, and I'm going to draw, and I'm going to lose 2 life. Or, yep, lose 2, accept them at 10, block. And we didn't draw land, well, we didn't draw land this time, but unfortunately it was not a card that's going to help us any. I guess to start off, I will tap 2, and I will play Athalia.
It does stop my plan of killing the thing with a Fatal Push. But I don't think I really care that much, because now, how big can that layer get? 5? 4?
Right now, I can make it a 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's less scary, and if he has a land, which I think we know he does, because I think that's what he said last turn that he drew, it can get to 5, but our Goyf still blocks it reasonably, and I think we're okay with that. So we're going to let that resolve.
Okay, so... I'll play my lair, well, my land for turn, which, yeah, I could make it a 5/5, which does not get through the timer Goyf, unfortunately. And we don't really have any good attacks, so we'll pass.
So we're going to untap and draw. And we actually drew an untapped land that doesn't hurt us.
What?
And we gain 2 life from the Shieldred.
Yes.
So we're going to play the Castle Lochthwain, which is actually probably one of the best lands in this deck with Shieldred. And then we'll play... Ooh, my Bankbuster costs 1 more, which is a little awkward. But I think we still want to do it, because it is pretty good at drawing cards and gaining life. So we're going to play it. And then we want to leave up removal. So we are going to... You only have 1 first striker, right?
Yeah.
So we are still going to keep on with the Glissa. And keep him blocking.
I'm going to throw the elf in front of that.
We want him to lose as many creatures as possible, but we don't want to commit too much, because we could die.
Right.
But then I think we'll call it good there.
Alright. I'm going to draw, I'm going to lose 2 life. And I drew yet another land. So, at this point, this game has gone on long enough. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and concede, because I still kind of have outs, but not really with this brush land, unfortunately. And this game's gone on really long, and I kind of just want to get to the next game. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop here. So, yeah. there was definitely a point in that game where I think if I drew any like removal spell or or Wilt-Leaf Liege or anything, I think the game is probably just over.
When I just had the Goyf and you had like a 4/4 and a 1/1 or a 4/4 and a 2/2 or whatever.
I had the Smiter, the King Darien, and the Elf. But yeah, there was definitely a situation where, like, in hindsight, I don't think really blocking with the Fleeceman Lion was still even bad, because I could have made it monstrous the following turn, I'm pretty sure. But I think you still had the push, technically. You had the black up. Which
I wanted to see what you...
Activating Fleeceman Lion is like, it kind of becomes a game of chicken for the most part when it comes to that. But yeah, no, it was very... definitely drawing all those lands, it kind of put me on the fence there. Technically, my out was if I drew a white land that, like, well, if I drew like a white creature, I could untap and play potentially Brave the Elements and steal a win that way with the Brave, which is why I blocked with the Elf instead of the human token. But yeah, no, overall, definitely drawing all those lands was pretty rough in a 22 land deck. But okay, anyways, so we are going to hop into game 3 here. But before that, we're going to do some sideboarding. So we're going to go ahead and get our sideboarding figured out, and we'll see in just a second for that. Alrighty, so we are back from our sideboarding here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the sideboarding here. So I'm bringing in one Reidane, God of the World. I think that's how you pronounce it. Reidane? It's Reidane. But anyway, so I'm bringing one of those in, mostly because of potential board wipes. Like, technically I don't know what your sideboard is, but, you know, probably like Ritual Soot or Extinction Event or Languish, which helps a little bit with that. I'm also bringing in 3 Portable Holes, mostly because it deals with like Tarmogoyf, Reckoner Bankbuster, potential Scavenging Oozes, that kind of thing. And I'm also bringing in the Rest in Peace because it mostly shuts down Tarmogoyf. That's kind of the main reason I'm bringing it in. I would say, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm bringing in. I'm taking out 4 Elvish Mystics. I'm playing 4 Llanowar Elves and 4 Elvish Mystics. I think in this matchup, although I'm the aggro deck, I can afford to be a little bit slower. I want to be a lot more grindy, and unfortunately, like with Elvish Mystics and Llanowar Elves, you're technically not as grindy. I don't know if it's the right decision to make, but I didn't want to cut any more of my 2 drops or my other 3 drops, which I am cutting 2 King Darians. I don't think this is the right matchup for this kind of card. I mean, like, I just want to, like, I have creatures for 2 mana that are bigger than this, and I have creatures at 3 mana that are way bigger than the King Darians, and I just don't like it. I decided to cut 1 2-drop, and I decided for it to be Voice of Resurgence, which seems a little weird considering I'm playing against a mid-range deck, but the main reason with the Voice of Resurgence is it is a non-bow with the Rest in Peace, because obviously when it dies and there's a Rest in Peace in play, I don't get a dude. And Fleeceman Lion, if you just tap out and I just make it monstrous, or force you to tap out and I can make it monstrous, it can definitely like sway the game a lot, because obviously it's able to fight through all of your removal and kind of, help take care of Glissa, that kind of thing. So that is what I decided to do. What did you do for your sideboarding?
So what I decided to do was I took 2 Thruns out of the main deck. They're really good against control, and they're pretty big, but his creatures get big quick, and Thrun just doesn't keep up very well. I'd rather have Cletus. It's just better. When his creatures die, I get a token, and it has lifelink, and it can get bigger. Like, it keeps up pretty well. And then the Extinction Events over the Scavenging Oozes. Extinction Event kills a lot of his stuff. And I just need something that will kill his stuff early on. There's a lot of big creatures that I need to worry about, and I feel like I win the late game, so the longer the game goes, the more likely I am to win. An Extinction Event is really good at getting you to the late game. And then, again, I took out the 2 Scavenging Ooze. He's not really doing much with his graveyard. Yeah, it's good against Voice of Resurgence, because I can target it in response or whatever. I think. I'm not even sure how that combo works, but I don't think Scavenging Ooze is that good in the matchup. I'd rather just have the Goyfs do their thing. And then Assassin's Trophy over Lily and Thoughtseize. I don't want to randomly discard a thing that just gets put onto the battlefield, like Loxodon Smiter or Wilt-Leaf Liege. That seems poor. So we are boarding those out, and instead of having them, we'll put in 2 trophies. I just think it's just a touch better.
Yeah, I would say so overall. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and shuffle up for game 3 here. We'll see in just a second. Alrighty, so we are back for game 3. I've got 2 lands in hand, a couple 2-drops, and a 3 and a 4. So definitely looking to hit a couple lands here in the top, but not too many. How's your hand looking?
So we're really good at keeping 2 lands, and we're really good at regretting keeping 2 lands. But we're gonna keep this one. It's got a Blooming Marsh and a Boseiju. It's got 3 removal spells and two Assassin's Trophy, 1 Abrupt Decay. It's got a Liliana of the Veil and a Galissa, which Galissa is, as you saw last game, just a house.
Right.
So we're gonna keep it, and we've got 3 draws, I think, because we're on the draw this game.
Yeah.
We have 3 draws to draw a 3rd land, and this hand is busted. We also, if we don't draw this 3rd land, we're probably just gonna die.
All right, fair enough. So, okay, well, I'm leading this off. I'm leaving the lair. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Well, we drew a Fatal Push, which is absolutely the best card we could have drawn. Go ahead.
Fatal Push, solid card. All right. Well, I drew my 3rd land here, which is great, and I'm gonna play a Folia.
That makes it a little worse.
Good.
It's a good thing we drew the Fatal Push, because if we don't draw a 3rd land, that would be bad. And we still haven't drawn the 3rd land. So we're going to Fatal Push that Thalia now, because we can't cast anything with that on the battlefield. Now, if he plays another one, we'll be sad.
Are you good?
Yep.
I don't have another one, I promise. I really don't have another one. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and just play a Melira, the Living Cure. Go ahead.
We're going to draw. We're going to be sad because we didn't draw a land, but we did draw another Abrupt Decay. So we're just going to Abrupt Decay
In
him
response,
into Oblivion.
no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're good.
We're just going to keep Abrupt Decaying until it doesn't work anymore, until we run out.
It's never a bad plan. All right, well, I don't have... I mean, I have some action I technically could do here, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass.
So we're going to hope for that 3rd land now.
I hope you don't.
Still nothing. We have 7 cards in our hand, so we'll just pass.
All right, well, I'm going to make you have it here. I'm going to cast an Advent of the Worm on your end step. I'm going to make a 5/5 green Trampling Worm token.
So yeah, you're gonna have that for about 2 seconds.
Oh, you got the push.
I'm gonna Abrupt Decay again.
All right, well, we got to try it. All right, go to my turn here. I drew a good card here, so I'm going to go ahead and play a Voice of Resurgence.
That's a pretty good one.
And I'm going to play a Melira, the Living Cure.
Those are both good ones, and we need a land desperately now. And we still didn't get it. So what do we got in the graveyard over there?
We have a Thalia, Melira, and an Advent of the Worm.
So we have, is a instant creature?
Yeah. So 2/3 Goyf?
It would be a 2/3 Goyf currently, which is not the biggest creature on the battlefield.
I've definitely seen bigger.
Is kind of sad for me. I gotta read the voice real quick.
I wouldn't read it.
Whenever during your turn or when Voice of Resurgence dies, put a green light. The Voice of Resurgence is mean. So I actually think we kind of wanna... It may seem bad, but we want to play the Goyf as a 2/3 and hope that he doesn't have removal.
What doesn't grow dies. All set?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to draw. I'm going to go ahead and play a Razor Rich Thicket tap, and then, because I'm a pro gamer here, I'm going to tap 3, and I'm going to play a Skyclave Apparition.
Look at that.
And then I'm going to go ahead and target Tarmogoyf.
Goyf will die.
And move to combat. I'm going to attack for 5.
I will take 5.
So 15. Go ahead.
So we're going to untap, and we're going to pray for this land at this point. Still no land, but
Jesus
it was
Christ.
another removal spell. So we actually have a decent turn this turn, because we can get a creature, kind of. Because we can start by... he has enough lands. I don't think giving him another one, other than the fact that there's a lair on the field, which is kind of awkward. I don't think giving him another one is going to be the end of the world for us. We're at 15, so he can't just like kill us with the lair. So we're just going to trophy that this turn.
All right, well, no point in keeping it with Melira because I wouldn't even be able to get a dude back. So, yep, that's going to die. I don't technically have the token for it, so we'll just use that. So you get a 2/2 with the Skyclave dying. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm just going to grab a Plains here.
We would really love a land still. I cannot stress enough how much a land...
Lands are overrated. Don't worry about it.
How much a land would make this hand good.
Okay, there's that for you. Okay, all right, I'm assuming you're all set then?
Yep.
All right, we're going to untap here. Hopefully draw some action. That would be fantastic. And we didn't draw any action, which is unfortunate. There's a couple things I could do here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and play this forest. And I'm going to tap 4, and I'm going to play a Wilt-Leaf Leech.
That card's mean. I think it makes all your creatures into 4/4s or 5/5s, right?
They're some big homeboys now, that's for sure. So, okay. So I could make the lair, let's see, it would be a 2/2, and I don't want to trade it with that for sure. So I'm going to move to combat. I'm going to attack 4. This is 5/9 now because they're getting +2/+2 from the Wilt-Leaf Leech.
So we're going to block the 5/5 since neither of them are going to die. And we're going to take 4 and go to 11 and hope we draw a land someday.
Go ahead.
A land would be still nice. It's not. This is terrible running, guys. This is not great. So what we're going to do is we have to kill the Wilt-Leaf Leech because we're kind of just dead. And I think we're just dead anyway. 5, yeah, we're just dead. So I'm going to concede because he's got the lair. I can kill the Wilt-Leaf Leech, but without a third land, I can't kill anything else.
Right.
And he has 10 damage on the board. So yeah, lands killed me that game for sure.
Definitely seems like a reoccurring theme so far in this little mini series we got going on here. So okay, all right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and shuffle up for game 4, and we'll see you in just a second. All right, so we are ready for our final game here. We are both on 7. I've got 2 lands here. I've got 2 2-drops, a 3 and a 4. It's a solid hand overall. Probably the weakest hand we've had this far, but it is still a keep. How's your hand looking?
So my hand has 3 lands in it, notably, which is the first time that I've opened with 3 lands the entire time we've been playing. I have a 2-drop, I have a 3-drop, and I have 2 4-drops. If I can get to this Extinction event in Kalidas, I would be ecstatic, because that means I did it on a curve.
Right. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, you are on the play.
So we are going to play a layer first, because I don't have any 1-drops anyway, and then pass.
All right. I'm going to draw, and I'm going to play Temple Garden tapped. Go ahead.
Ooh, tapped, eh? So we drew a Glissa, which is actually super good here. So it's going to look a little weird. But if he wants to kill our Goyf that's an 0-1 right now, I will live with that.
All right. All set?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to draw. Well, we drew 2 lands in a row, which, I mean, isn't the worst, but hopefully we just don't draw anymore. That would be fantastic. I think I'm just going to go ahead and play Voice Resurgence here and pass. I got a couple options for 2-drops, but I think Voice is the best option.
So we drew a Shieldred, which is still not a 4th land, notably. So we're not there yet, but we're going to play a Mutavault, and then we're going to play Glissa, because it's pretty good at holding down the fort. And our Termagoyf is a 0-1, so we will just pass.
Alright, I'm going to draw. We drew another land, which kind of is, I don't know, that's kind of the story, that's kind of the ongoing story right now, is we're just getting a lot of lands. So, I think I'm just going to go ahead and play the Loxodon Smiter. It's not doing anything for us right now because of the Glissa, but I think it's our best play, so I'm going to go ahead and pass.
So if we don't draw a land here, we, unfortunately, I think we want to leave the Glissa back, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. We did draw the land, so it doesn't matter. We'll put it on black because we need a second black source to cast some of our spells. Our hand just got a whole lot better with that 4th land. So I think we're going to start with playing... It's really close between Kalidas and Shieldred. I don't think he's going to block this turn, even if I attack with the Glissa, because he's at 20. So I think we want to start with a Shieldred. And then we will attack with our Glissa now that we have a big dude. Because if he wants to block, our Termaglyph grows. If he doesn't want to block, oh well.
So, much to Nate's shock, I am going to block, because this voice is pretty much not going to do anything for us the rest of the match here. So we'll just go ahead and block, take the opportunity now, and get our dude down. All set?
Yep.
Alright, so I'm going to draw, and I'm going to take 2 damage. And we drew yet another land. So we have only drawn lands so far this entire match, well, this entire game, which is not great for us, unfortunately. So, a couple different avenues I could take here. I think for now I'm just going to go ahead and play our brush land, and we really don't have any good plays currently right now, so we're just going to pass.
So we're going to untap. And we're going to draw. Our Termaglyph is on 1 now. And we drew a Fatal Push, which is actually quite good. But I think we still want to just... since we didn't draw a land, we kind of just want to play... Actually, we want to start by attacking with our Glissa and see what happens.
Yeah, and we're gonna let it through at this point. We want to save our token, and we don't want to block with Smiter.
We're gonna draw, and we're gonna gain a life. I should have gained 2 life at the beginning of the turn.
Should be at 23.
I should be at 23 then.
23.
So I'll put that on top, so you guys can see it. And I did draw a land. Unfortunately, it's a tapped land. I don't think that changes. Actually, that might change my play a little bit. Because he didn't block, and I don't think he's going to attack into this Shieldred unless he has something really good. I think we want to play, while we have the chance, we want to play this Tireless Tracker. Because it can start drawing us cards pretty quick here. And we have a land to play right after it, so we can get a clue token right now. And, you know, Shieldred gaining life is pretty good. So this is our clue token. I know it's not a clue. We could not find one. We looked for about 20 minutes.
I know I had a clue token around here somewhere, but... Alrighty, all set?
And that will be my turn.
Alright. Unfortunately, since you obviously were discussing this, we know that you have the Fatal Push, but we are still going to play the Advent of the Worm. And I'm going to get my 5/5 token.
Yeah, and we're going to Fatal Push the 5/5 because it's big and scary.
Yep, unfortunate. Pre-Fatal Push, I played a lot of Advent of the Worm, and that card never died to anything. And you're not going to believe this, but we drew another land. So at this point, we are firmly out of gas. I have 2 Rest in Pieces in my hand, which can stop the Tarmogoyf, but at this point, we can't stop the Glissa, we can't stop the Shieldred, and the Tireless Tracker is just going to draw cards. So, just for the viewer's sake, we'll go ahead and just, for your amusement, we'll go ahead and play the Rest in Peace, and we'll exile our graveyards here.
No, my Goyf!
And... I could play the second one, but it doesn't really matter, and I'm going to pass because I can't do anything, and I'm also at 15 because of the Shieldred.
So this is a 2/2, right?
Yeah, 2 creatures in play, so it's 2/2.
So I'm going to untap, and I'm going to gain 2 life because I drew a card. And then, wouldn't you know it, we drew yet another land, which is actually good for us because our Tireless Tracker gives us another clue. So, in this spot, I like playing Kalidas a little more than I like starting to draw the cards, because we're super far ahead already and our life total doesn't really matter. And drawing cards is good, but Kalidas is also very good.
I think at this point you're just going through the motions, honestly.
Yes.
Because at this point, I don't know if there's a single card I could draw. I mean, I guess technically, if I draw a Fleecemane Lion, well, I can't even Monstrous it, even if I draw it right away. So, yeah, I don't even know if there's anything I could really draw to even get out of this spot.
So we are gonna, we're actually gonna push it a little bit. We don't want to attack with our Tireless Tracker, but we don't want to lose our Shieldred either. So actually, we're just gonna attack with the Glissa for now.
And I'm gonna go to 12.
And the Glissa is gonna draw us a card and gain us a life. And we drew another land, which is actually one of the better lands in the deck right now. Go ahead.
All right. Again, I don't think there's anything we can draw, and the third Rest in Peace, I don't think is it. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and just concede the game because at this point, there is not a single thing I can do on this board state. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready for the post-game analysis. We'll see you guys in just a second. All right, so we are back with the post-game analysis. So, I believe, we split matches. It was 2 and 2. I won games 1 and 3, and then you won 2 and 4, which the weirdest thing is all the games played out the same way. So games 1 and 3 was you got stuck on 2 land and couldn't claw out of it. And then games 2 and 4, I drew only lands, and you were able to just dump basically all over the green-white pile. So, couple things I want to talk about. So this is obviously our first episode of, like, I call it, like, What If Pioneer, where, like, what if specific cards were legal in the format, and obviously we did Wilt-Leaf Aggro and Tarmogoyf. Overall, I would say both cards are perfectly fine if they were printed into Pioneer. I'm hoping that maybe, like, Wilt-Leaf Agro's chance of going into the format is, I would say, like, us returning to Lorwyn, I think it was technically printed in Shadowmoor, but so us going back to that set, and then maybe they reprint the Lieges. I think that's its best chance. Tarmogoyf, I feel like, almost can go into a lot of sets to a certain extent. I think as long as there are Lurgoyfs on the plane, I think they technically could reprint it. But anyways, that's beside the point. I think both cards were pretty fair. We got to see a little bit of Wilt-Leaf Agro's power, giving our creatures +2/+2, but we definitely saw the power of Tarmogoyf, obviously being at one point, I believe it was a 5/6 in that game, which is also pretty crazy because there's no fetch lands in this format. So, because the only land that went into the graveyard was when I cycled the Aganjo, or channeled it to be able to take out the Tarmogoyf, which still was a 2-for-1. I'd like to add that. So that's definitely still a good plus for Tarmogoyf. So what did you think about your Golgari Midrange deck with Tarmogoyf?
I think that the deck is definitely better with Tarmogoyf because it just clogs up the board really well. And what this deck is missing most. And right now, what I've been using in place of it, because I do play this deck, it is my competitive deck of choice. Right now, what I've been using is
it's been Scavenging Ooze.
Scavenging Ooze. Yep. I play 4 Scavenging Ooze instead. I still play 2 Scavenging Ooze with those, but I think that it is a little bit better than Scavenging Ooze because I don't have to pay mana, so I can keep my turns going.
Right.
And that is really big, especially against aggro when you don't really want to be having to spend your mana on an ability that doesn't really affect the board that much.
Right.
I mean, like, if I'm playing against mono-white aggro, I don't want to spend a mana to grow my thing 1/1/1 and gain 1 life.
Right, you just want to play a 2-mana 3/4/4/5 and just be done
and
with
just
it, right?
block their 2/1 first striker that I feel good about, or their, when it's a 4/5, you block their their Aileen, and you're like,
you're like, cool,
game.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so I think with Tarmogoyf, I don't think Tarmogoyf is a card where, because they did put it into Historic on Arena, so it is legal on there, and from my understanding, it's not overly oppressive. I think the only potential issue that could run in with Tarmogoyf specifically is it would maybe be almost too good against some other aggro decks, just because, if they're playing like Luminarch Aspirants and like Bonecrusher Giants, and you're playing a 2-mana 5/6, I could see where that could potentially be an issue, but I still think that, obviously it dies to, the at least common removal I can think of now, like Fatal Push, I know it dies to, Portable Hole, which is a really, really common card. Obviously, we saw Skyclave Apparition still eats it up, which is a pretty common card. I feel like most colors in the color pie have ways to remove it, except for like green and red is really hard for it to burn it out. Like, I guess you maybe could snag it with an Obliterating Bolt occasionally, kind of like Flame Slash in Modern, but I still don't see any issues if they decided to put Tarmogoyf in the format. Me personally, I'm kind of okay if they do, and kind of okay if they don't. For the most part, it's not really going to hurt my feelings too much. Wilt-Leaf Aggro, though, is one of my favorite cards in Magic. I've been playing that card for years in Modern. It's hasn't been relevant in the last handful of years with Modern, but I really think that opening up new different ways to play aggro in the format, I think it'd be really unique. And I think Wilt-Leaf Liege would definitely help make a green-white zoo deck be a lot better for the format in general. I don't think it's as, like steamrolly as like Humans is for the most part. It's more of just fair aggro. You just play 3/3s for 2 and locks it on smiters and you just turn them sideways. So, but anyways, do you have any other closing thoughts before we get out of here?
So one thing that you guys didn't get to see that if they do put Goyf in the format that you need to play if you're going to play this deck, and I think I'm actually going to go up a couple of them because it's really good with Tireless Tracker as well. Fabled Passage.
Yes.
Fabled Passage,
yes.
Very underrated. Right now, without, Rakdos Sacrifice has not been the greatest deck in a while, and I think that it is okay to play 2 or 3 copies of Fabled Passage in this deck because you're trying to generate value, and I think that I might actually put 1 or 2 in the main deck without Termagoyf because it's just really good with Tireless Tracker. I mean, getting 2 clues instead of 1 is amazing.
I almost wonder if Termagoyf was hypothetically printed in Pioneer, if there's certain cards that would get better again. I can't think of any specific, like, really cheap graveyard filling cards that you would want to play specifically, but maybe it potentially explores the opportunity for cards like Seeds of Hope, or maybe even Deathrite Shaman again. I don't personally think so, because again, there's only Fabled Passage is the only land. But I wonder if Tarmogoyf was printed, there would definitely be cards that would be getting better and worse for sure. It'd be very interesting to see which cards would get better and worse overall.
I'm very interested in what happens to the Abzan Greasefang decks.
Yeah, maybe they just, people bring in Rest in Peace, but maybe if they're expecting a bunch of removal, maybe they just bring in the Tarmogoyfs. Like, okay, you're just going to bring in all these Rending... Maybe you're just, okay, you're going to bring in all your Rending Volleys and Raven Feeblements? Fine, I'll just bring in Tarmogoyf.
Well, I'm wondering if they just play Tarmogoyf in the main deck. I mean, it crews their guys pretty well. That
Yep.
It's another way to kill, and you're filling your graveyard like crazy. The whole deck is filling your graveyard, and you have a bunch of different types because you're already playing artifacts, instant, sorceries, creatures, and you're gonna put lands in your graveyard because you're trying to fill it with Grizzly Salvage and stuff. So that might be the only deck that I think gets a little busted with Termagoyf because it's trying to fill its graveyard just naturally without having to use spells or anything. That's just what it does.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a lot of hate for that deck. So I don't think it'll be that bad. I personally think that Tarmogoyf and Wilt-Leaf Liege, for that matter, would be great additions to the format. It would open it up a lot. A lot more people would be playing green, like black-green instead of black-red.
Well, and I think what would be great, too, is the only green that we generally see in the format is Mono Green Devotion.
Oh, yeah.
It would be great to see non-Mono Green Devotion green decks pop up in the format. Like, true, actual, like, some more green mid-range. Maybe even Rakdos mid-range turns into Jund.
Right.
And their only green they play is, like, Abrupt Decay, Tarmogoyf, and Glissa or something like that. I think it'd be great for the format overall.
Yeah. And another thing we should note is the cards we played definitely weren't the cards that were winning the game. I mean, the cards that won me the game were Glissa and Children. That's just a fact. And the cards that won you the game were random
Loxodon
4/4s
Smiter.
and 3/3s.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like, the Wilt-Leaf Liege made it so it was harder to block and made it the deck better. I'm not saying it didn't. And if I would have discarded it at any point, I would have been upset with myself.
Right.
But I don't think that they're game breaking, and I think that they're good enough that you'll see people test with them. And I think that they're good enough that I think that it would widen the meta a little bit more, and it wouldn't be so. I mean, right now our biggest problem is still Rakdos, right? In this current metagame, and I feel like if you put a card like Tarmogoyf, you'll see some black green more.
You could even make the argument that Tarmogoyf and Wilt-Leaf Liege would be both good against the Rakdos mid-range deck.
And they could be played together.
Yeah. You could actually make that argument, like, oh, I'm playing Thoughtseizes and Lilianas and Croxas. Like, okay, you're filling my graveyard and I'm playing Tarmogoyf, or, oh, okay, I'll discard Wilt-Leaf Liege and I'll put it into play. So we can make the argument that it could maybe even balance out the format a little bit.
Right.
But yes, definitely very interesting. I think this is a very fun first episode of What If Pioneer. Nate, I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
I had a lot of fun.
It was definitely very fun. So, okay, well, we're going to hop out of here. As always, the deck list will be in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Just note that Tarmogoyf in Wilt-Leaf Liege are not legal in Pioneer, so do not build these decks and go to your local Pioneer, because otherwise there's going to be some issues. But if you like to build them for Modern, they obviously are Modern legal. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this episode. We'll catch you in the next one.